Inigo waited. The flutter was off to the left, and that was wrong because he knew where he was, and so did the beasts. So that meant they must have been preparing something for him. A cut, a sudden turn, and with all control left to his brain, he kept his sword just as it was, circling slowly, not following the sound until the fluttering stopped, and the king bat veered in silence toward Inigo's face. The six-fingered sword drove through like butter. The death sound of the king bat was close to human, only a bit higher pitched and shorter, and Inigo was only briefly interested because now there was a double flutter. They were coming at him from two sides, one right, one left. So Inigo stabbed first to the right, then drove left, and two more almost human sounds came and went. The sword was heavy now. 3 dead beasts changed the balance, and Inigo wanted to clear his weapon, but now another flutter, a single one, and no veering this time, straight and deadly for his face, and he ducked and was lucky. The sword moved up and into the heart of the lethal thing, and now there were 4 skewered on the sword of legend, and Inigo knew he was not about to lose this fight, and from his throat came the words, "I am Inigo Montoya, and Steel the wizard, come for me!" And when he heard 3 of them fluttering, he wished he had been just a bit more modest, but it was too late for that. So he needed surprise, and he took it, shifting position against the beasts, standing straight, taking their dives long before they expected it. And now there were 7 king bats, and his sword was completely out of balance, and that would have been a bad thing, a dangerous thing, except for one important aspect. There was silence now in the darkness. The fluttering was done. "Some giant you are," Inigo said, and then he stepped over Fezzik and hurried down the rest of the darkened stairs. Fezzik got up and lumbered after him, saying, "Inigo, listen, I made a mistake before. You didn't lie to me, you tricked me, and Father always said tricking was fine, so I'm not mad at you anymore. And is that all right with you? It's all right with me." They turned the knob on the door at the bottom of the black stairs, and they stepped into the 4th level. Inigo looked at him. "You mean you'll forgive me for completely saving your life if I completely forgive you for saving mine?" "You're my friend, my only one." "Pathetic, that's what we are," Inigo said. "Athletic." "That's very good," Inigo said. So Fezzik knew that they were fine again. They started toward the sign that said 2 level 5, passing strange cages. "This is the worst yet," Inigo said, and he jumped back because behind a pale glass, a blood eagle was actually eating what looked like an arm. And on the other side, there was a great black pool, and whatever was in it was dark and many-armed, and the water seemed to get sucked toward the center of the pool where the mouth of the thing was. "Hurry!" Inigo said, and he found himself trembling at the thought of being dropped into the black pool. They opened the door, and they looked down toward the 5th level. Stunning. In the first place, the door they opened had no lock, so it could not trap them. And in the second place, the stairs were all brightly lit. And in the third place, the stairs were absolutely straight. And in the 4th place, it wasn't a long flight at all. And in the main place, there was nothing inside. It was bright and clean and totally, without the least doubt, empty. "I don't believe it for a minute," Inigo said, and holding his sword at the ready, he took the first step down. "Stay by the door. The candles will go out any second." He took a step down. The candles stayed bright. A third step, the 4th. There were only about a dozen steps in all, and he took 2 more, stopping in the middle. Each step was perhaps a foot in width, so he was 6 feet from Fezzik, 6 feet from the large, ornate, green-handled door that opened onto the final level. "Fezzik?" From the upper door. "What?" "I'm frightened." "It looks all right, though." "No, it's supposed to. That's to fool us. Whatever we've gotten by before, this must be worse." "But there's nothing to see, Inigo." Inigo nodded. "That's why I'm so frightened." He took another step toward the final ornate green-handled door. Another. 4 steps to go. 4 feet to go. 48 inches from death. Inigo took another step. He was trembling now, almost out of control. "Why are you shaking?" Fezzik from the top. "Death is here. Death is here." He took another step down. 24 inches to dying. "Can I come join you now?" Inigo shook his head. "No point in you dying too." "But it's empty." "No, death is here." Now he was out of control. "If I could see it, I could fight it." Fezzik didn't know what to do. I am Inigo Montoya! Wizard, come for me! He turned around and around, sword ready, studying the brightly lit staircase. Now you're scaring me, Fezzik said, and he let the door close behind him and started down the stairs. Inigo started up at him, saying, No! They met on the 6th step. 72 inches from death now. The green speckled recluse doesn't destroy as quickly as the stonefish, and many think the mamba brings more suffering, what with the ulcerating and all. But gram for gram, nothing in the universe comes close to the green speckled recluse. Among other spiders, compared with the green speckled recluse, the Black Widow was a rag doll. Prince Humperdinck's recluse lived behind the ornate green handle on the bottom door. She rarely moved unless the handle moved. Then she struck like lightning. On the 6th stair, Fezzik put his arm around Inigo's shoulder. We'll go down together, step by step. There's nothing here, Inigo. To the 5th step. There has to be. Why? Because the prince is a fiend, and Rugen is his twin in misery, and this is their masterpiece. They moved to the 4th step. That's wonderful thinking, Inigo, Fezzik said loudly and calmly, but inside he was starting to go to pieces, because here he was in this nice, bright place, and his one friend in all the world was cracking from the strain. And if you were Fezzik and you hadn't much brain power, and you found yourself 4 stories underground in a zoo of death looking for a man in black that you really didn't think was down there, and the only friend you had in all the world who was quickly going mad, what did you do? 3 steps now. If you were Fezzik, you panicked. Because if Inigo went mad, that meant the leader of this whole expedition was you. And if you were Fezzik, you knew the last thing in the world you could ever be was a leader. So Fezzik did what he always did in panic situations. He bolted. He just yelled and jumped for the door and slammed it open with his body, never even bothering with the niceties of turning that pretty green handle. And as the door gave behind his strength, he kept right on running until he came to the giant cage, and there, inside and still, lay the man in black. Fezzik stopped then, relieved greatly, because seeing that silent body meant one thing. Inigo was right. And if Inigo was right, he couldn't be crazy. And if he wasn't crazy, then Fezzik didn't have to lead anybody anywhere. And when that thought reached his brain, Fezzik smiled. Inigo, for his part, was startled at Fezzik's strange behavior. He saw no reason for it whatsoever, and was about to call after Fezzik when he saw a tiny, green, speckled spider scurrying down from the door handle. So he stepped on it with his boot, and he hurried to the cage. Fezzik was already inside the place, kneeling over the body. Don't say it, Inigo said, entering. Fezzik tried not to, but it was on his face. Dead. Inigo examined the body. He had seen a lot of corpses in his time. Dead. Then he sat down miserably on the floor, and he put his arms around his knees and rocked back and forth like a baby, back and forth, and back. It was too unfair. You expected unfairness if you breathed, but this went beyond that. He, Inigo, no thinker, had thought, hadn't he found the man in black? He, Inigo, frightened of beasts and crawlers and anything that stung, had brought them down the zoo unharmed. He had said goodbye to caution and stretched himself far beyond any boundaries he ever dreamed he possessed. And now, after such effort, after being reunited with Fezzik on this day of days for this one purpose, to find the man to help him, find a plan to help him revenge his dead Domingo, gone. All was gone. Hope, gone. Future, gone. All the driving forces of his life, gone, snuffed out, beaten, dead. I am Inigo Montoya, son of Domingo Montoya, and I do not accept it. And he sprang to his feet and started up the underground stairs, stopping only long enough to snap commands. Come along, bring the body. He searched through his pockets for a moment, but they were empty from the brandy. Have you got any money, Fezzik? Some. They pay you well on the brute squad. Well, I just hope it's enough for a miracle.